Right, so screencast of our CS50's Introduction to Game Development. What we were seeing there is a modified version of Flappy Birds. In this case, you may notice that the collision between the birds and the pipes has been deactivated, and that is because I am so terrible at playing this game. I may be good at programming, but terrible at playing. So let's see a couple of things that we have to check on here. Number one, we have our gap between the pipes, okay? So that gap between our pipes, it's created in our play state. We were doing it before with a hard-coded 90. So in this case, we are creating a random zeta, and then we, instead of having 2 seconds here, as we did before, we created a map random between 1.5 and 5 that gives us, we're going to have a pipe being generated, a pipe pair being generated every 2.5 seconds to every 5.5 seconds. Basically, we're going to go randomly creating those pipes according to the time frame that we have. Now, in here, we have created a local variable called gap with a mat random between 70 and 130. That is the space between the two pipes that you're going to have, up and down, the top and bottom one. And what we're doing here is using the same parameter that we were using before for what local y is. So we have the pipe height plus 30. That's going to guarantee that our pipes are no higher than 30 pixels from the top of the screen. And this one is going to guarantee that our pipes are no lower than 30 pixels from the bottom of the floor. Remember that the floor, it's 16 pixels wide height. So we added that here. And we added the gap that we produce here and the pipe height. It's the same idea that we were using before, except that instead of using 90, we are using the gap and guaranteeing that it's also at least 30 pixels from the top, from the bottom of the floor. And that was basically how you randomize the pipes, the creation of the pipes. You can add parameters to these. So if you wanted to have it faster, if you wanted to do it slower, and you can add parameters to this section to, depending on the level that you're in, if you were to implement levels, you could start decreasing the randomness, the size of the gap. Well, that obviously would come here, and we notice that now we modify the pipe pair. It's coming now with the gap that we created. So we go to pipe pair, we have now it comes with gap, and we're simply using that gap here to create the same idea that we were doing before with 90 that was hard-coded. It was here, remember? Now we just changed that for that parameter that's coming in. In addition to that, we were thinking about how to deal with our score state. So the first thing that we did is in main Lua, I created a variable, a global variable called high score. And that high score is going to keep track of what's the highest score during the entire game as you keep the window open. I'm going to use that later on. So in this score state, we have at the end in our render, it's a very simple comparison. You want to compare with the current score that was brought from play state. It's higher or equal to that global high score, because if it's higher than the highest score, it's going to get a golden medal. And you're going to check if that score is higher or equal to the star golden. That means we're going to create here very simple levels. In this case, 3, 2, 1, 1. If you get 3 points, you get a golden star. If you get 2 points, you get a silver star. And if you get 1 point, you get a bronze star. And we have here that the gap between the medals is going to be 1. Notice that these 4 variables can be changed very easily and will affect our entire logic here. So we do the same for silver and we do the same for bronze. Notice that as you increase the highest score, you are increasing the difficulty of the game. So getting again a highest score is going to be harder. If you want to restart it, you just have to restart the application. Finally, to our pause state, what we did was we created a pause state here. It's the same idea that we did with the other states. In this case, we are passing a series of parameters to that pause state because we want to restart the game as it was before. In this case, we have the previous state. This is basically a flag that we're going to have from before, so we don't affect the placer. If we're coming from countdown state, notice that here we just added to the play a parameter comes as countdown. That way, when we go to the play state, is going to skip over certain situation depending on what state it is in. Okay, so remember here, if we're in play and we click on P as in pause, it's going to initialize all these components. Okay, it's coming from those parameters that we are bringing. So if we go to pause, we're given all of these parameters that we actually need to remember. We need the score, we need the pipers, we need the bird, and we need our last Y. And we're changing that to previous play. If it's not press P, then it just continues like nothing. And then in our pause state, those parameters are stored. And if we press P again, we start our music again because we just pause it here in the play state, remember. We trigger a pause music, and then we are given back to play the values that it had before. And we are simply rendering a pause screen. All right, I hope that you understand everything, and if you need more information, don't forget to ask for it.